Welcome. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to improve your musical time. We're going to talk about how to use a metronome in order to improve your musical time and how not to use a metronome. I'm Jared from Sound Guitar Lessons, teaching you how music works on the guitar. I've been teaching guitar lessons for over 16 years in person, and on this channel, I am taking the best, most effective exercises and lesson topics and bringing them to you here. So if you're new, please subscribe. I'm first going to talk about how not to use a metronome, how most people do it, and why it's not the most effective way. Then I'm going to talk about the two types of having a good sense of time. There's two different ways of working on time, so we're going to define both of those. And then I'm going to reveal what the secret is to really, truly improving your sense of musical time and how to use a metronome in a way that is so uncommon. Now, this is really kind of a secret. This is just so rare. It's not widely adopted. I know it's fun to say the secret to this, the secret to that, but this one really is more unusual, but so freaking effective that I think everyone should be doing it. It shouldn't be a secret. And then I'm going to give you a series of exercises so you can put it to the test and work on it for yourself and really feel those results. And stick around to the end, because after all that, separate from just how to do it, what the exercises are, and what I think you should be practicing, I'm going to give you a bonus tip about the right hand and what technique to make sure that we're implementing to get the best kind of precision and the most out of these exercises. Okay, first of all, don't just use a metronome because you feel like you should, because it seems like a good idea, because someone told you to, or well, I'm telling you to, but I'm going to tell you exactly why and how. So my point is, don't use one without knowing why and how. Don't practice anything without understanding why you're doing it and what the specific result is that you want from it. So this is happening with all kinds of elements of our practicing, but with a metronome is such a clean example of something where like, oh, hey, it's good to use a metronome. I'm just going to put it on while I'm doing this other thing that I'm trying to do. Like, it can only help, working on my sense of time. Wrong answer. Don't do that. Don't just have a metronome on. Use a metronome when you're working on time, when you want something from it, when you know that you're going to have the bandwidth to be focusing on the time and why and what element of the time that you're working on. So I don't mean don't use it in combination with other things, but have it be part of the program, part of the exercise that you're devising for yourself, that you're doing. Many videos ago, I did a video about my best technique advice, and it really was just about when you're practicing anything, make sure that you're focusing on one thing at a time. And you can combine things together, but you have specific definitions of what you're working on. So that's tip number one with the metronome. Don't just default do it and expect to passively improve because of it. It can actually hold you back in a lot of ways. Okay, let's say you're with me on that and you're like, okay, I'm ready. I want to exercise my time. I want to do that exercise. I'm going to define it. I'm going to do it on purpose. I'm going to focus on it. Great. Here's what most people still do though. They get the metronome on, click, 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 click. It's going, play along with it. I'm working with the metronome. And that's it. What else, right? What are you focusing on and why? All of that stuff. So the question is, well, what is there to focus on other than just trying to play in time? And this brings me to that next point of the different types of time that we can work on. So there are really two types of time. I call it macro time and micro time. Those aren't really widely used terms. It's just the idea of the big sense of time, the evenness overall of time. Are we at a tempo? And then there's micro time, which is the feeling of the subdivisions in between the beats and in between those subdivisions and in between those subdivisions. How precise are we able to feel where every nook and cranny of the time is? That's very different than macro time, what I call macro time, the evenness of time, the bigger beat. And that's usually what people are focusing on when we're focusing on time. It's not a bad thing to focus on. It's just like getting too much attention. The micro time is where we can ultimately have an amazing internal sense of where anything that's happening in time needs to be. So if you can put a metronome on and be able to play with it, now that can be hard enough to get used to, and a lot of us need to be working on that. That's fine. If you can't do that, definitely work on that. But once you can do that, you're not really gaining anything by doing it more. That's what I'm calling the macro time. Can you play with a drummer and stay in sync with them? Now, a band might be playing in sync and their entire time is like fluctuating. That's not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. If they're wanting to stay as even as possible, that's something to work on with their evenness of time and their macro time, and that's great. So the macro time is the main beats, the most obvious beats, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and whether or not you're able to stay even with it. The micro time is subdivisions between those and whether or not we can feel the precision between the obvious beats. This is where most people are lacking. And guitarists especially, I would venture to say. Guitarists have a lot of, notoriously and kind of typically, we have a lot of weaknesses. One of them being sight reading. Can you relate? One of them being ear training. Can you relate? Another one, maybe to a lesser degree, is often time and a really good sense of time. So here's the problem. If you can play with the obvious beats, macro time style, with a drummer, playing along just fine, maybe feel like you have a good sense of time, and that is an important ability. But if those obvious beats are taken away from you, do you crumble? Most of us, yes, unless we work on this stuff that I'm about to show you in the microtime world. So if a drummer's getting fancy and they do some polymetric fill, some sort of polyrhythm, some sort of nerdy thing that they were working on in the practice room, and I love that stuff, I don't mean that to sound like a put down. If while we're playing, we're like, where are we? Because you took away my obvious main beats. You took away my backbeat. You took away my downbeat. You took away that bass drum being right on the one and like, nope, give it to me. Well, we're just latching on to sounds that are giving us the biggest, most obvious place of the beat, and we're able to follow it. Again, important, but we need to go further than that. So when the click is on the beats just normal, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what we're doing. That's what's happening. We're just, it's giving us the most obvious beat, and we're saying, yep, I can be there with you, but are we processing any other information? So let's go into what it means to work on the microtime, and you can test it out for yourself. And if it's hard for you, then perfect and awesome, and you'll see what I mean about how helpful this can be and how much it can enhance your playing. It should be hard. If it's not hard, awesome. It probably means you've worked on this, but otherwise it should be hard, and it will enhance your time like crazy. And if that drummer does that weird fill, you don't get lost. You won't get lost. You'll be solid. And I'll give some examples at the end as well about some solo guitar stuff. I hear people playing with fingerpicking or something like that, and it's like not locked. It's not like the evenness of the time is not there with the subdivisions. And, to some, whatever, if artistically that's intentional, fine. But a lot of times you can tell when something is or not intentional, like needs to be tightened up. So, okay, let's go into application here. Okay, the secret to working on your sense of musical time, to really deeply getting that solid and together, is moving where the click is. Moving the click, taking away that it's giving us the obvious beat, making it so we're not given the obvious stuff, forcing our bodies, our sense of time, to feel confidently that we know where those strong beats are, that we know where those down beats are and those back beats and those on beats. If you can feel that for yourself because the click is not there, then you're rock solid rather than just like kind of tagging along. So this is called click displacement, where we put the click on something other than the obvious beat. So definitely in this video, we're just going to talk about putting the click on the and, on the off beat. So every eighth note in between the quarter note beats. So how do you put the click not on the beats? You just have to feel it that way. That's all. It's not some setting with the metronome. Don't worry about, oh, my metronome doesn't change to being on the ands or on the offbeats. Totally it's just a click. The click is just going. You have to switch how it feels, how it sounds to you. It's just like those ink paintings where you look at it one way and it's one thing, and you can kind of just shift your perspective and see the other picture altogether. And it's interesting to see, who sees what first and try to figure out what the other thing is that it is. It's that perspective shift. Totally. You have to sense it shifting over. So let's turn on the metronome. I'm going to give you the exercises now, the ways to really actually work on it. So I'm just at 100 BPM. The most of us, the obvious thing we're going to feel is this. Click, click, click. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay? So we need to work on step 1, exercise 1. You need to work on being able to feel this as the and. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. Down, 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 and down, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, but you really have to feel it. So if that's hard for you, I can't emphasize this enough. Just take your time working on it as much as you need to. I had it at 100 BPM. Definitely let's go down to 80, and just try to feel it. If you should be able to hear it and feel it that way. If you put the guitar down, get up, get a glass of water, and the click is going. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. If this is a fast drum beat, that's like where the snare would be. At the faster tempo, that's 2 and 4. And so it's okay to do it really slow and think of it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do all kinds of things to work on this. Tapping, hitting your guitar, clicking. Don't play yet though. Just make sure you can feel it, right? So one way to do this, I can't see my knees in the camera, but to hit your knees, tap, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, especially if you're right-handed. And then try to emphasize and accent that right one so you can really feel it and you're not feeling the click. So the tricky thing is you can play all the right stuff or tap all the right things and still be feeling it as boom, 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 but you need to feel boom, 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 and really be honestly feeling it, not faking it, right? Not faking your head going down in between, but you're still actually feeling it in the wrong place. So only you can know. So grapple with that a little bit. Okay, exercise number 2 is just playing anything with playing eighth notes, that is, playing straight eighth notes, but any notes you want to choose. So you have a down, up if you're a pick player, or you want to alternate I and M if you're a fingerstyle player. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And I'm just doing one note. You can do open string, but definitely get to this exercise. Be able to play, play some notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And be honest about if you're feeling it in the right spot. 1, 2, 3, and not going 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's just do a little example of this being slightly faster. 80 is a good tempo. Definitely go as far down as you need to. Go to 60 if you need to. If you're really feeling good about it, have your max, and long term, have your max speed getting up to, try to get to 160 would be great. I'm going to go to 120. Boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. I did a video a bit ago on free improvisation where you just play any notes anywhere, and that's a lot of times how I'll work on time stuff. I'll just do free improvisation over here. So I really can kind of just play all over, but really be focusing on the time. You don't have to do that, but I'll put a link to that video so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, just since I said 160, here's an example of that. Notice I'm kind of clicking with my mouth. People do different things like use their teeth or snap or whatever works for them, just to kind of confirm that I'm feeling it in the right spot, or tapping just your foot or whatever. One, two, three, four, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So I was kind of playing roughly in like a D minor kind of thing. It doesn't matter at all though. Those notes don't matter. Just really feeling it. And I was doing a down up with a pick. If I did it with my fingers, I might do I am. So the M always lines up with the click or the upstroke of the pick. One, two, three, four, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, next version of the exercise is to do quarter notes. Okay, so you'd think eighth notes would be harder, but actually quarter notes are harder, because when you're playing everything, you can think, am I lined up with it? Is my click lined up? Is my click lined up with my upstroke or with my M finger, or whatever you're designing it to be? And that's great. That really takes a lot of work. Taking away something is much harder. So playing and feeling it is easier than just passively feeling it, for sure, because there's nothing to grab onto. So we're going to take more notes away with this series of exercise and just go up to whole notes. But let's do quarter notes. I'll go back to 120 as an example tempo. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Way harder than playing with the click on 1, 2, 3, 4. That is just gives it to you. And you can be actually kind of way off in terms of micro time, in terms of, tiny bits of accuracy, and not even know it when the click is just giving it to you. You won't even know it. Here you know it, because a little bit off, the click on the offbeat bounces off and tells you, hey, were you even with this? Was it even feeling, or was it a little bit weird because you had to give yourself the obvious beat? It works like crazy. It's amazing. Okay, let's do half notes. That's the next way to do it. I'll go down a little more because I don't want it to seem like it has to be at those higher tempos. So we'll just do 100. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can work on, if you can feel it, being relaxed. Jumping around a little more on the guitar. Again, just use an open string if you need to. Okay, half notes. Like I said, whole notes are next. Let's stay on that tempo. And we'll increase it too, just to show an example of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is so good. If you happen to play reggae music or ska music, you might have a better time with this. Because you kind of have to figure out how to feel those upbeats in a way that are a focus. But let everything ring. Okay, if you make it short and percussive, you give yourself, makes it easier. So it's too easy because you're making it percussive. So the sustain of it makes a little washier feeling. Okay, that's whole notes. So challenge yourself to do it at a higher tempo. Something like, let's do 140 for whole notes. It's going to feel quite hard. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, ba, ba. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So, I say this all the time, let it be hard. If it's hard for you, that's awesome. You have an advantage now over people that are not willing to work on those things that are hard. It's the best thing to find that challenge. It needs to be kind of just in the right window of challenge, but you can create that for yourself. This should be doable for anyone because you can slow it down. You can work on those eighth notes for a while, that kind of thing. And so let it be annoying, let it be hard. If it's annoying, you found a gold mine for increasing your musicianship. Don't avoid it because of that. Don't avoid anything because of that. At least take a mental note of, oh man, okay, got to work on that. And I know we're always noticing those things and feeling frustrated with what we can't do. But what I want to show you is how to work on it. So you can at least bank this idea of, oh, if and when I'm ready to, you can watch this video and not work on it. That's probably likely because we're busy. For a lot of us. Well, but I want you to be like, oh, that's how you work on that thing. Cool. When I finally have the time, if and when I'm ready, or like you get a gig at some point and the timing is throwing you off, and like, oh, spend a week on this type of practice, and your fitness increases for that, right? You can go dive in deep to it and get what you need out of it. This is how to practice that. Okay, let's just do a quick review of all that before I give you these bonus items about the right hand technique that I think will help you even more if you want to work on this precision time stuff. So what we went over, 1, don't use a metronome just by having it on because. Use it only when you want to for a specific reason and a specific result. 2, there are 2 types of time, macro time, micro time, that you can work on. Macro time is the big sense of just being able to follow a tempo. Micro time is the subdivisions in between that gets you a strong sense of actually individually for yourself knowing where you are in time and not just following some big beat that something else is giving you. Click displacement, changing the click to in your mind in the way you're perceiving it to not be on the main beats is the answer to working on micro time, which is the answer to having an amazing sense of time in general. The exercises to do, first, just be able to feel the click on the off beats, any tempo. Next is to be able to play constant eighth notes with the click as the off beats, be able to play then constant quarter notes with the click as the off beat, constant half notes, and then constant whole notes. Any tempo, if you're really crushing it on this, work towards tempo 160 is an awesome eventual target to work towards. There's more that can be done for sure. So let me know if you're interested, and in the future I'll post a follow-up video with advanced click displacement stuff where we're putting it on different 16th notes, where we're putting it on different parts of the beat of a triplet and doing exercises that way, which is just all the better for our sense of control and time. So if interested, I'll do one of those videos later, but this is an amazing place to start just with the click on the offbeat. So I just wanted to give a quick example of playing with like a finger picking thing that has a bunch of subdivisions in it, and how for me personally, feeling confident about having the time be really locked in and even is from working on that stuff with the metronome click displacement. And so I'll just give an example of that feel for me if I was working on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of a constant finger picking thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You get the idea. I should say real quickly that certainly doing this is going to help your ability to follow just obvious beats also. Like if you do need to have a good ability of just following a click, say if you want to do studio work or if you're recording at home and trying to record on a click, practicing with the click displaced and then trying to play along with a normal click on a normal beat is you're going to have a much better ability to do that. So again, because our overall sense of time has much more control. Okay, bonus time. So I want to tell you with the right hand, the precision is important here. We need to be able to pluck and create the sound right when we want it to. It's going to be so obviously critical in an exercise like this. You might figure it out intuitively when you're grappling with this, but 2 tips that I think will speed this up for you if you're not already doing these things. If you're a pick player, do not hold the pick super tight or grip it so it's doesn't have any slack to it. You specifically want slack to it. If you hold it tight, you're not gonna have control over when you can pluck off the string. It's gonna mess up your dynamic control. It's gonna kind of slide off at weird times. So you want to have slack on the pick. It's like a loose tooth, okay? You can have varying degrees of slack, but when I'm playing, I'm seeing the pick go flop, 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 and it's flopping around, okay? So don't hold the pick too tight, and that's very important. For fingerstyle players, you want to do something called planting, and planting is when you prepare the note, just the string with your finger. You plant the tip of your finger on the string, whether you're playing with nails or fingertips or whatever. You prepare that for just a split moment, and then you have control over when you attack off of it. This is a tried and true classical technique that is tied to anything with our fingerstyle. So instead of just swooping in and hoping we get the note, you want to plant, and again, just for a tiny moment, even in faster playing, you're technically planting. If you hear that string mute a little, bop, 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 it's because I'm planting, and then because I'm sitting there ready, I can pluck right when I want to. There's no kind of in-between time. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm planting after each note. So 2 little tips for playing with a pick and for playing with the finger for the precision that will help with, of course, your time work. Okay, that's it for this lesson. I just want to ask you to take your number 1 takeaway from this lesson and write it in the comments below. It's super helpful to write something down, helps us kind of walk away and remember it. Plus, it's helpful for other people to see what people are writing down. And I want to say hi and interact a little bit too. So do that for me. And until next time, happy practicing.